This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am Jason Jarvi. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvi the King. Sitting across from me, as always, and he's loading up his drops. He's got it ready. The phone, he's got 5 of them. You know him. You love him. The Doc, John Macaroon. Doc.
Do you know what episode we are on, Jason?
Is this 75?
Episode 69.
Oh, man.
All's good, man. I had a good weekend. I'm looking forward to chatting it up with you. Lots of good news to talk
I
about.
feel like we're missing something. Like if Vinny were here, he would definitely be making mention of the 69.
Oh, of course. That's why I brought it up. You know, we were 69 episodes down. It's a fun thing to do, and we've been podcasting now about a year and a half, and it's been a fun adventure.
It's a deep 69.
Yeah, there you go. Did you? So, talking of Vinny, did you by chance check out his appearance on the Drew Lane podcast?
I did, and the dude needs to get a better phone. It was his. He's always cutting out.
You know,
it could have been way better, but he's always, for part of it, he's cutting out, and for then the next part, he sounds like
exactly. And so I talked to him a little bit beforehand. I was super excited that he was, I did tell him beforehand, like, hey, mention to Drew that, hey, what's going on? Maybe because Drew Lane's podcast, which everyone knows, he's got a following, he's got a base. So I'm thrilled that Drew is podcasting. It's excellent. And you know what I'm thrilled about? He's doing it every day, relatively speaking, 5 days a week, a la Adam Carolla. He's one of the only people that podcast 5 days a week, full time. And Drew has a following, and it's a big following. He's got his supporters. And I'm like, Vinny, go on there, promote the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Go do that. Promote yourself. You have something to talk about, go do it. So he gets on there, and the first thing he does is, of course, mess up with the phone and things like that. And I'm like, come on, when I'm listening. But then he got his plug in, which was good. I got to hear. I do a podcast.
One plug. He could have done a lot more.
Of course. The Vinny Stubbs show airs every Sunday. I talked him through it. Jason, trust me, I talked him all the way through it. And when you hear it based on that, I was like, are you gotta kidding me? So now I can ask you if I'm being a dick or not. So you did hear that he did shout out his boy Adam.
He did, yeah. He said his cousin Adam. Because Adam actually interned for Trudy, because Trudy was on there.
Trudy Daniels, WCSX. Adam interned there with Jim O'Brien on that show. He did a lot of work, cut his teeth there, and he got a relationship. He has a nice relationship with those people over there at CSX. And so he mentions Adam. No mention of the Doc. No mention of, his Vinny Stubbs show. And I got to actually check in with him, and maybe we'll give him a call later on in this show, in that he's gone AWOL from his own podcast.
Well, Adam is kind of the face. I'd say he's the face of Detroit Sports Podcast. He's the guy that you put out there. He's the one who's going on the Justin Rose show. He's the one who's going everywhere. We don't see your face out there. And you do like all the shows, but we don't see you.
Exactly. I think
you have a face for podcasts.
I have a face for podcasting, and isn't it wiser? Adam is the face of the company. Maybe now Jenna will be one of the faces of the company. Maybe you could be one of the faces of the company then, if you want to get out there.
I'd have to shave.
See, exactly.
Because I'm getting a little grizzly right now.
Exactly, and I'm same way. Kind of a guy that likes to grow a beard now and then. Adam's clean cut, doing his thing, so we promote him. But
he goes to salon.
Why do you think Vinny didn't shout us out more? Do you think Drew would have got mad or cut him off?
I think Vinny, because it's Vinny, man. The dude, I love him. He's a scatterbrain. He's everywhere at once. And I think and they kept hammering him on his ex-girlfriend. Going back to Aaron, and that might have thrown him off. And kind of
No, he knew what they were going to talk about. Why do you think he knew? Oh, no. Vinny knew the reason why he was going on there was to take crap and to talk a little bit of an update, because that's what he talked about throughout the whole time he was an intern with the Drew and Mark program on 105.1. They basically talked about the relationship. And see, that's the part that I think I should have coached Vinny up more, in that I knew that's what they wanted to talk about. He could have teased it a little bit more. He could have gave little drops of information, talked about other things too with what he wanted to do. They could have had more of a conversation. I really believe they would have let him on for an hour if his phone wasn't so terrible, and if he kept telling stories in a way that would have lured them in, talking about what he did at the internship, talking about other kind of stuff. He could have been on there for at least an hour.
Well, do you think that interview kind of...
I wanted more.
Did he go into a hole, and that's why we haven't seen a Vinny Stubbs show?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. We have to page Vinny. Where the hell is he? No, I do know why a little bit, but I thought that the problem that occurred rectified itself. But Vinny has to update the doc regarding what's going on, right?
We do. We need to hear from Vinny, and I think everybody needs to tweet at him and get on his Facebook and say, we need a Vinny Stubbs show.
No kidding. But the best part was, if you heard it, and I thought that was really kind of solidified Vinny, and it was like kind of a direct talk to us, was that Drew Lane said that the Vinny Stubbs show, the podcast, lacked any political correctness whatsoever, and that he probably needed to be reined in a little bit. Well, I disagree with that notion. And the reason why we do this podcast, I think the reason why we've built a following, and actually had probably in this last 7-day stretch, one of the best stretches for the podcast in general, is because we don't censor it. We talk about our topics, but the idea is, we just want to say what comes to our mind. As long as the audio quality is relatively decent, then we don't really want to do that. We want to be able to say whatever we want without too much of a filter, and that's why we've been successful. So, and it's come to bear that by doing that, our podcast network is at a really great spot. I can't complain.
Well, that advice may have been more for Vinny's radio career, because obviously, on a podcast, you can come out and you can say whatever you want. But Drew Lane he's been in the business for well over 20 years, and if anybody can, walk that line of political correctness, it's Drew Lane. I think Vinny definitely has some stuff still to learn, but I think he's well on his way.
Why?
No, see, I disagree totally. I say that the new way, yes, definitely if he wants to work in sports radio, if he wants to work, at a corporate job.
Radio.
Or basically in any corporate job where he has to probably have people that supervise him, he probably could or should rein it in. But I think if he wants to be a successful broadcaster, then you know what you do? You do what you know. You build your audience first. If you build an audience, you can go anywhere. You can go to Sirius. You can go to the niche market. I don't know if radio might necessarily be the proper landing spot for Vinny, right?
Yeah, we'll probably, if the place that we'd probably want to see him would be like Sirius.
Exactly. I think that would be a great spot for him, either behind the scenes or working on a show, maybe like the Sam Roberts or kind of an Opie and Anthony kind of daily talk show where you can kind of free flow it, or a morning show where you can be a little bit more edgy and free flow it and not have too much of a censor. But overall, you would grade Vinny's appearance C+.
Yeah, C+, B-. The phone definitely hurts him. Get a better phone, man. You need to get that iPhone.
I messaged him and I said, dude, what phone did you use? And when he sent back his reply, all I could do was laugh. I felt bad because I don't even know what the phone is that he has. He texted back and tweeted to me that the phone that he used on the phone call to Drew Lane was an LG Metro. I don't even know what that is.
Is it like a burner?
I have no idea.
What?
LG Metro was the phone that he used. And I was like, come on, man. For an appearance like that, I know it's a big deal. I was really like, when Drew started a podcast and when we were talking about it with Vinny, I'm like, hey, yeah, reach out to him. Maybe he'll come on yours. Don't be shy. Don't be worried so much what they think of you. Just go on there, do your thing. You got prime time, and I think he could have took advantage of it a little bit more. But hey, give him credit. I give Vinny credit. Even though we want more, we have high standards at the DSP. He did great. He got the plug in there, and he got a chance to be featured on one of the highly rated iTunes podcasts in the entire country, the Drew and Mike podcast. So I give Vinny all the credit.
Now, would you say listening to Vinny at times is kind of like getting kicked in the head?
I think I know where you're going with it. I think I might say getting kicked to the head might be less painful.
John, stop fucking around, man.
It might be less painful. But so this past Saturday, Bellator, it's another MMA. It's the competitor of UFC. They had Bellator 158, and in one of their matches, Cyborg Santos got kneed directly in the face. And
did you see the footage of that happening? Actually, have you seen
did, and like the guy he went in, and it was basically the perfect opening for Michael Page, and it's literally like he rammed his head into the dude's knee.
This is bad.
And the guy he immediately goes down on the ground. He's holding his head, and Michael Page, he already had this in the bag. We talked about Pokemon Go last week. He grabs one of the Pokemon hats, grabs a Pokeball, acts like he's catching them. He caught them all, and he caught all of his face with his knee. And it's coming out that the dude has like a fractured skull. Looking at the pictures, it looks brutal. Literally, he has a dent in his forehead.
If you're weak of heart and you have a weak stomach, looking at the X-ray of what a crushed skull looks like, it literally looks like his, facial structure was mangled to pieces. And it looks like something where you go, oh my gosh, how did he survive? And there is a little bit of question regarding the surgery because there's concern that the brain is still swelling. They got to kind of really pay attention to what's going on. And just the appearance of him in the hospital with the dented skull, whenever you start talking about brain injuries and things like that, you definitely freak out. And what a brutal injury for this guy.
It's nothing you can really. It's almost like you couldn't avoid that. The only way that you could have maybe helped that out is if he had some sort of headgear on. But it's like his head is made out of silly putty. Right where the nose connects with the eye with the brow, somebody just like pushed into his head.
From all the key injuries that you've seen, some of the gruesome ones, I know there's been several in the last few years that have been where, the bone pierces through the skin and things like that. We all remember Joe Theismann. Does this rank up there as one of the more gruesome injuries that you've seen? I
think this has to be one of the most gruesome injuries we've seen because with leg injuries are always hard to watch, and that's probably what we see the most of is somebody's leg just goes the complete opposite way. Maybe like an ankle is literally bent 90 degrees.
Did you ever see the Sid Vicious wrestling one?
I probably have. I can't think
For
of it
those that don't know, Sid Vicious was a big dude, big, tall, blonde dude, and he bounced back from WCW and WWE. Well, if there's a clip, if you just type in Sid Vicious nasty injury, you'll see it right away. He's on the second rope, I believe, and he jumps off, and his foot lands awkwardly, and then he snapped his leg, I believe, his left leg, and he's on the mat, and his leg is going in the other direction. It is horrible. He made a gruesome mistake. It's one of the all-time flubs in wrestling history. Sid Vicious and his jump off the rope there.
Yeah, so. Just pulled it up. It's looking pretty gruesome. But this is something that you have to you look at. The leg gets fixed. It gets wrapped up, and oh my God, I just saw it. The leg just snapped.
The leg snaps, right?
That's awful.
I watched it live, and I think it happened on a live event, and so they had to talk about it. And a recent one, like the one we with Enzo from WWE at a pay-per-view, his head hit the mat, and he basically was unconscious UFC style, and that was a scary one too. And they were talking about it, and there's been some gruesome sports injuries out there.
I remember.
Do you peek into that stuff? Do you like that stuff?
I will watch it, even though like every time I watch it, it's like, gah! But it's a train wreck. It's something that I think it's almost kind of our duty to watch it so we can at least talk about it. But this has to be one of the most gruesome injuries. I know a couple years ago the Louisville kid had the compound fracture in the NCAA tournament.
In the age of Twitter, you could definitely screenshot it and move in closer to see the bone basically piercing out the white matter of his bone there. Ooh,
right. Willis McGahee in the NCAA title game. So, I mean, there's gruesome injuries. I'm not sure if there's anything that we can do to stop it other than not playing the sport.
Yeah, no, in the age of Twitter, you can definitely check in on things and see more things than in the past. And in the age of instant gratification, people always just want to kind of look and see. But I try not to, but in the end, you kind of want to peek in. And this one, I didn't catch on to until I saw it on a tweet from Deadspin, gruesome injury. And they have the great taglines, gruesome injury. He makes you click.
Now, this is a little bit different, but it is kind of the similar instant gratification and the need to see this kind of stuff. And it ties into the recent tragedies that have happened. It's just seemed like over the past 2 weeks, we've seen these videos of men dying. I mean, is this something that we should really be watching? I mean, obviously, I think you can go both ways. I think on one hand, it's for the public to actually see what's happening and to see what injustices are going on. But on the other hand, we're watching somebody die.
You're tapping into something that definitely hits home to me, in that I'm a psychologist, and people who are traumatized are definitely affected by stuff like this. I would say too much of anything is not good. And in the lieu of recent events, if you're watching CNN 24/7, I would just say, hey, back away, turn on the kitchen channel, turn on the cooking channel, turn on some turn on something else for some levity, because yeah, it will drive you crazy. But I was the guy that was similar in that I go through phases. You know, sometimes I get really hooked on sports and I'm just all about the shows. Then I get into movies and I'm just spending weekends watching movies. And as a youngster, I was the guy that tried my best to avoid it, but I peeked in, I saw, and I watched Faces of Death. I watched Ogrish, and now the new one is liveleak.com. It's a crazy website, liveleak.com. It's just anybody uploads gruesome stuff, and you got stuff of like people on motorcycles being decapitated. You got people who commit suicide, electrocutions. So it's basically an extension of that full time. And I was like, and you got military stuff. It has anything really devilish and gruesome is on that website. So from time to time, you know, late at night after watching sports, I just might peek into that and see what weird stuff is out there. And but not too much. And no more than once a month for me watching that kind of stuff.
Growing up, I feel like we didn't have access to this kind of stuff. But in this day and age, with social media, with everything, I mean, with the entire internet, it's at our fingertips. And I think we have to be careful. You know, for your dad. And I think it's one thing to see stuff in movies, on TV shows, bad guys getting shot or killed, but this is real life that we're watching. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there should be maybe a little bit more of a
there should
be some more censor.
You think so?
But I guess it really goes both ways.
But see, what I would say is, more people just need to go off the grid a little bit more. Spend more time with your family. Go out there, enjoy the nice scenery. Michigan's beautiful. There's so many nice places to go out there by the water, get on a boat, get out there and walk around, go do different things. Why do you think that maybe Pokemon Go took off? Get outside, do something different, do something fun. People, I think, nowadays are really stressed out, and they are peeking in too much at what's going on socially, on the news, and it's really warping their sense of, you know, what is an enjoyable life. Because if you really just spent all your time on the internet, all your time watching this kind of stuff, it's going to make you feel down. It's not going to make you feel happy. So that's why I think you need to mix in there, you know, comedy, laughter, enjoyment, spend time with people that you care about. And hey, every now and then, just sit outside and throw them back. One after the other.
Throwing back Pokeballs.
Throwing back some Coors Light.
Even Pokemon Go is getting a bad rap. I read something about somebody shot at some kids who were just sitting in front of their house.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, it's getting crazy. And I think I think it was bound to happen, really, that something was going to come of a group of people just hanging out and somebody be suspicious. And with the number of people that are, involved in it and doing it, we were going to hear about something.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you and I kind of like being in studios, because I don't think there's too much danger going on in studios full of microphones and electronic gear. That's
I
for
hope
sure.
so, unless somebody's going to come and attack me for some of the things that I'm going to say about Matthew Stafford in a little while.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit of Lions. I think the news coming out today, really, that the former Texans running back Arian Foster is going to be visiting. He's coming off an ACL injury and doesn't have a team yet, and he's going to be visiting the Dolphins today, Monday, and sometime later this week he is visiting none other than our Detroit Lions.
Why?
Don't we have enough running backs and potential guys that we signed in free agency to fill that need? I'm not sure what does an Arian Foster potentially bring.
Now look at what the Tennessee Titans have and tell me, do they have enough running backs? They have like 5 starting running backs on the team. I feel like people are going either way too nuts about Arian Foster, that he's going to be amazing, or that he's just going to suck. I think if you're able to, and I'm gonna be the sensible guy here. I think if you can get Arian Foster at a decent price, I think it's a low risk. As long as you're not paying the guy like $9-10 million a year, it's a pretty good deal. Sign him to a 1-year contract because he obviously wants to prove to somebody that he still has it. And I think the Lions could be a pretty decent fit. We don't really have that number 1 running back. We have Amir Abdullah, Theo Riddick, and then a handful of we signed, Stephen Ridley, drafted Dwayne Washington. We still have Zach Zenner. And I think Arian Foster could at least come into training camp and push some people because he was a very serviceable running back when he was healthy in Houston.
See, I think for Lions fans out there, the attitude to take is be very underwhelmed and hopefully he overperforms. Because if you overhype Arian Foster, there's a great chance that he's going to be disappointing because he's older in age. He's got the veteran presence, no doubt about it. He could do some things in this offense when healthy. And that's the big key. You have to put it in big quotation marks, when healthy. And I was chatting it up with our followers at Detroit Podcast, and I was saying the same thing. One of the key interesting scenes of Hard Knocks last year was early on, episode 1, he's sitting there training with his brother, and he's like, dude, I got one of the best trainers in the world. I think I'm going to have a good year. Pan to a couple games, a couple things later, and boom, he's hurt, groin injury. This is a guy that came on the scene because of fantasy football. He burst on the scenes, and he was just, for I think maybe a 1 or 2 year stretch, the guy in fantasy football because he was a dual threat. He was a great running back, and he was a guy out of the backfield that would rack up a ton of yards. But then the injury started to happen, and boom, now he's a guy that has a huge question mark. I would say, yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. I would say you could bring him in, but I don't think you need him, really. I think you can fill that role with Zach Zenner. Zach Zenner could be that guy, or if you want to really put the onus on a guy that's already been here, that knows the system, that you could say, here you go, here's your chance, show me what you got. Theo Riddick last year hasn't he done enough? And I know he's kind of been, kind of categorized as a third option, but I really think if you give Theo Riddick more of a workload, why not entrust him versus a guy that you kind of know more often than not, 60 to 80%, isn't going to last you anywhere near 16 games.
So, I mean, I'm all for giving Theo Riddick a shot, but I don't run the team. And for whatever reason, they just don't want to give him that shot to actually be a running back. He's just a pass-catching threat right now.
But let's speculate. Why do you think that Theo is not given more of a role, and why do you think they're still trying to bring in running back after running back to test him out? Is it one of those things where you just kind of do a check and it's your due diligence to bring in a guy like Arian Foster just to see what he's got with maybe no real intention of signing him? Because if they sign him, then why did you sign Ridley? Don't you think that potentially Foster is maybe equal to or slightly better than
See, that's
Ridley?
the thing. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have signed Stephen Ridley. I think that was a big mistake, and I know people are, for whatever reason, excited about him. I'm not excited about Stephen Ridley at all. I think he has fumbling problems. He couldn't crack the depth chart when he was in New York last year. So I don't know why we should have any hope that he has anything good to do here.
You know why, Jason? He's got the New England magic. He's been touched by New England. So maybe something can rub off here.
He was touched in New England and did nothing in the Jets then.
Yeah, exactly.
So why? I hate Stephen Ridley personally.
Okay.
So I mean Theo Riddick, probably because he's a small dude. He's 5'9", 200 pounds, and they're always cautious whenever there's a small running back. I think unless when you're that small at 5'9", I think you need to be a bruising, powerful running back. And I mean, as we've seen, Theo Riddick hasn't really gotten the touches to see that, he hasn't cracked 50 rushing attempts in his 3 years here. His first year he had 9 attempts. 2014 he had 20. Last year he had 43. He cemented himself as a pass catching threat. And then, we drafted Amir Abdullah, so obviously we have to give him carries too. Arian Foster is a guy that I'd want to at least take a chance. I would love for them to drop Ridley and get Foster. I don't think that's going to happen. But if any way you could bring in Foster, I don't know, give him a contract with a bunch of stipulations. Make it backloaded that he actually has to
earn a bunch of his money. Yep.
Yeah. And I think I would love for that to happen, because if Arian Foster can come in and be, 70% of himself, I think that's better than what we've really seen in a long time.
And so, interesting point that I was thinking about now as you were talking. If you're Arian Foster, why come to Detroit? I do believe that if you're weighing the options between Miami and Detroit, don't you think that potentially, if you look at the offensive lines, that Miami's might shake out to be a little bit better? Not exactly like, slam dunk better than Detroit's. Detroit's offensive line has been known to struggle, has been known to kind of not allow running backs to thrive in recent years. Miami at least has a little bit more of a stable offensive line. I know that there's complaints there in Miami as well regarding the offensive line and defensive line. But money being equal, lifestyle, taxes, the depth chart, relatively speaking, Detroit might have to overpay to get Foster here, because everything being equal, I think Miami's probably a better fit for him.
If you're going strictly on team and what you think they could do in the season, what team's going to do better, then yeah, I think the Dolphins have a better shot. But I personally would say that the Lions are a better fit, because the Lions don't have that number one guy. Unless you're really confident in Amir Abdullah. Are you confident that Amir Abdullah is our number one running back?
No.
So I think he has the ability to come in here and possibly be that number one running back. Where if you go to Miami, you're going to be competing with Jay Ajayi. They drafted Kenyon Drake, who I really like. They're going to be their pass catching threat. They have Isaiah P. They still have Daniel Thomas. I think there's a lot more established running backs there that Arian Foster would have to compete with.
So you're saying that if he comes in, maybe he bumps into that third spot right away, pretty much, with his cachet and his resume.
And I think if he could, fill out that third spot.
So how would he be used here? He'd probably be used primarily second, third down, pass catching, because I don't think you can pound him, maybe on key third down plays and short. But this is a guy that you're kind of worried about, and that if you give him too many carries, he's going to wear down.
And I think he's going to be that third guy. And because Amir Abdullah will more than likely be your number one running back, get the majority of carries. Theo Riddick then is going to be your pass catching threat. He's the guy you're going to see in on third downs. And Arian Foster will more or less kind of be a change of pace. And if he does pan out, if he comes in and he actually succeeds, then he's going to get more reps. And if Abdullah just isn't getting it done, then Foster, could possibly take over for Abdullah. Looking at what he did in 2014, he had 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. 2012, 2011, both had over 1,200 yards, over 10 touchdowns. And the big thing with Foster is if he can stay healthy. And I get it that you do have to temper expectations. I need to rein myself in a little bit, because I'm really talking myself into Arian Foster being the starting running back for the Lions. But I do understand that you need to temper your expectations of him coming in, and that there's a possibility that he's never going to be the Arian Foster that we saw him in his glory days in Houston, because he is coming off of the ACL tear. Really, there's only one Adrian Peterson who can come back from that and get better. Arian Foster, I still think he has some tread on the tire, but how much, I don't think we're going to know until we actually see.
See, I ran a poll on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, courtesy of our friends at Fanatic U Sports. And the poll question was, should the Detroit Lions take a chance and sign running back Arian Foster? About 150 votes in so far, early into the poll, and 70% say go for it. We got a lot of back and forth regarding yes or no, but the two key ones that I guess are really encapsulating the majority of our fans' opinions. One from Carl Alden. He tweets in, we have the cap space, and we could use real depth at running back. Worst comes to worst, he's injured, and we're back where we were. Edward Pivos gets in. He writes in, no, worst comes to worst, he takes the roster spot of Zenner, and Zenner gets picked up by another team. So a lot of people are really looking at it like this. They would want Arian Foster, but they really kind of want to know, in terms of the competition, who he would beat out. And a lot of people do like Zenner based on his early rookie season. He did pretty much okay. He was a guy that kind of had a little bit of pop, meaning that you saw runs where he was hit and he just didn't go down right away. He kind of had a little bit of what everyone in Detroit likes, I think, out of the running back. They like a little bit of grit. And so I don't know if a guy like Arian Foster with his shtick right now and his, off and on type of situation, if he's always on the injury report, are the fans going to respect him? Because remember, there was a guy, and we know this game, the injury game. Remember him? 2 words, Reggie Bush. He's
going to get another contract in Buffalo, likely.
Dude got touched, ankle. Dude got touched, injury report. And so I think that's probably the reason, the factor that's driving the hell no side of things. Because I saw a guy like Reggie Bush, and you were like, seriously? This is not a football player. This is a guy that at any point in time, and you knew it, you called it last year. You're like, oh, Reggie's not going to play a whole year. This is a part-time guy. He's not a prime-time guy anymore. He was, but that's long behind him. And so I don't want Reggie Bush
never
too.
Did that though. I think Arian Foster has had way better seasons, and Reggie Bush, he's more of the dual threat. Where Arian Foster he truly is he's a running back. He can do that. He is a pass catching threat, but he's a very good running back, which I think he is. Which it sucks that we have Stephen Ridley on our team, because I do agree. I don't want to see Zach Zenner. I'd like to see what he could do. I'd like to see what even the rookie that we drafted, Dwayne Washington, I'd love to see what he could do. I think both of those guys are really interesting. I like what Washington did when he was in college. He's a taller running back. He's got a little bit of speed, and who knows? Maybe Dwayne Washington could be our Arian Foster. If we don't sign Arian Foster, I don't think it's the worst thing that could. It's not gonna hurt our team. But I don't see how it would. I mean, I guess I do see how it would hinder it, because if we don't have Zach Zenner, but if somehow we can keep all of our running backs and sign Arian Foster, I would totally go for that.
Oh, interesting. I'm very fascinated to kind of peek into and wonder what Arian Foster would want to come and get out of Detroit. I mean, he's going to probably be used sparingly. You're going to have to give Abdullah more of the touches. Would he be willing to accept that role? I think that he probably is a competitor, and he could do some things for the Lions, but maybe he's a veteran guy that knows his role nowadays, would come in and maybe be a little bit of a mentor for an Amir Abdullah. But I really do believe that talent-wise, you're not going to get that much more than utilizing Zenner and Theo Riddick. You can get that out of 2 guys, So I know that you could hit a home run with Arian Foster for 1 year, and you could have, really good mentorship and leadership for that locker room. I just think that I don't think it's needed, but if you go for it, you definitely have to have a contract that's going to be within reason for the team, and you just hope that you have to hope. You can't expect great things. You just kind of have to hope that he survives the season.
Now, talking about contracts kind of moves into the next topic I want to talk about. The franchise deadline came and went last week, and we saw guys get their contracts. We saw Von Miller.
Cha-ching.
The dude got paid. He got 7 years, 114.5. What was it, like 80 million or 70 million guaranteed? Dude got paid. Andrew Luck got paid earlier this offseason, 5 years, $122 million. He has the highest contract. We're going to have to be looking at our contract for our seemingly franchise player in the next couple of years. And I'm talking about Matthew Stafford, the quarterback, the face of our team. Is it possible that Matthew Stafford could have the highest contract in the NFL?
Oh, please. Let's get back to Von Miller real quick. His deal, $114.5 million, includes a record $70 million guaranteed. And according to everybody that's talking about the contract, he is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, and it's well-deserved. I think nobody's going to argue that Von Miller should have got his money. Now, the contract for Andrew Luck kind of makes things interesting in that you have to ask yourself, and you have to look seriously at the results and what's going on. Fans that support...
I'd also like to say for Andrew Luck is he gave the Colts a deal.
Of course.
He could have...
Cracked it more, yeah.
He could have took him to the bank, and he made it easy on them. I think he's only making like $24.5 million a year, which it's still a crap ton of money.
If you're a fan of Stafford, are you willing to pay for potential? Because me, when I'm writing the checks, I'm paying for what I know I got. Period. That's my philosophy. If I know I got a guy so far that hasn't won a playoff game, I know that I've got a guy with Calvin Johnson. With Calvin Johnson hasn't gotten you there. This is the year. obviously they're going to wait out this year and see what he can do. This is basically Matthew Stafford's biggest motivation to do the absolute best. And if he's a guy that is a competitor, if he's a guy that I think is going to be, somebody that's going to actually try to bet on himself and really do some things, I would say maybe you could expect this year he could get 45 to 4,700 yards, maybe 30 touchdowns, because he is looking at a huge amount of money staring him right in the face. But as of now, as of this recording, do I believe he has that potential to do it? No. But would I be surprised if he actually went out and did it? No, I wouldn't be surprised either. They're building a line around him. They're building as much talent around Matthew Stafford as possible. They've got, I believe, an offensive coordinator that is going to tailor the offense and continue to evolve with his strengths in mind. So right now, where we stand, we haven't played out the 2016 season. So right now, where we stand, he should not be anywhere near the top 5 paid quarterbacks. He should slot between 6 and 15. No doubt about it, based on his rankings, based on his lack of playoff success. Now, if you're a guy that's willing to pay Stafford that much money, then you're willing to say, okay, I'm going to sign my name to checks for a guy that maybe, just maybe, 30 to 40% chance is going to evolve into a top 5 quarterback. I can't do that. If I'm a guy signing the checks, I got to see it. That's it.
So I mean, obviously, right now he's not that quarterback, that he's not going to get paid that kind of money, but he's signed through the end of next year. So we're likely going to be looking next offseason of trying to negotiate an extension, unless he completely falls off the face of the earth and we're looking for our next franchise quarterback, which, I mean, I personally hope we're not doing that because we're back to square one then. We're back to, trotting out Sean Hills and John Kitnas.
What fans are pissed off at is a certain segment of fans are skeptical. They believe that really, irregardless of what Stafford does this year, if he has 20 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, 4,000 yards, and they go 9-7 and make the playoffs for the first round, they believe that low expectation, that low result could result in a max deal and a big time money. That's what fans are skeptical about, is that they think that Stafford has weaved his way so far into that organization that they love him so much that because he's got the moniker of the best Lions quarterback ever, that the organization's like, we got to keep this guy, let's keep the status quo, and let's pay him irregardless of big-time results. Listen, you want the check, Stafford? I need to see a playoff win. Because
and that's the
go
thing.
Do it somewhere else. Listen, I would be willing. Fans are so scared of seeing Matthew Stafford walk out the door and have success elsewhere. But in the end, you have to relieve yourself of that fear and tell yourself this. What did he do with a Detroit Lions uniform on? If he goes somewhere else, it's something different. With the Lions uniform on in his career, Jason, he hasn't done enough to earn anywhere near a top 5 quarterback deal.
So, I mean, right now I'm looking at the top 5 average salaries for quarterbacks. You got Andrew Luck at 24.5, Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers both at right around 22 million, Russell Wilson just under 22 million, and then Ben Roethlisberger right under Russell Wilson. So around 21 million gets you into the top 5 quarterback salaries. I mean, what is it going to take for Matt Stafford? Is it just getting to the play? If they get to the playoffs and lose again, I mean, I can't see giving him that money. I would be okay with him re-upping at pretty much the same salary, maybe go a little bit higher just because of inflation, whatever. Make him one of the top 15, because right now he's behind Brock Osweiler and Jay Cutler and Colin Kaepernick. I think he's better than those quarterbacks. But yeah, I think once you start saying if, and they are gigantic ifs, if he can win a playoff game, maybe even win 2 playoff games, I think you're looking at making him a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
Salary.
Hey, listen, that's the part that maybe some people are going to debate too, is that should just one playoff win earn him that as well? Because that might be his ceiling. See, that's the part that everyone is really nervous about, is that, okay, if you hand over this much money to this guy, yeah, he might help you out and down the line in a couple of years renegotiate and like Tom Brady and things like that, and maybe help you get talent. But when you give that much money to a quarterback, then you got to be really looking at the cap too.
I think the biggest thing is going to be how he affects the team and what is his effect on this team this season. He has no handicaps, no Calvin Johnson. So it's really going to be about what he can do and if he can get this team to the next level. I think if he gets them to not making the playoffs, obviously he's not making the money. I think if they get to the first round and they lose, he's not getting the money. If he gets there, wins a playoff game, and then loses the second one, it's really going to depend on how he affected those games. Maybe our defense is really, really good this season and keeps us in a lot of games, similar to what happened with the Broncos last year. They didn't really have a quarterback, but Von Miller in that Broncos defense was rock solid. If Matt Stafford is the reason that we win a playoff game, that's when he gets the money. Even if we do lose the next game, if it's not directly because of Matt Stafford and his performance, I think he's going to get paid. And I think we kind of have to. We kind of have to give him the money because there's a lack of good franchise quarterbacks out there. There's not the next guy isn't right on the horizon. Who are we going to go sign? Are we going to go into free agency next year or try to trade with the Patriots, try to get Jimmy Garoppolo? There's a premium for franchise quarterbacks. So you're going to have to pay him the money.
Man, Stafford's a lucky dude, right?
It's similar to Andre Drummond. You had to pay him the money. So you had to pay for your stars. So more than likely, I think we're going to see Matt Stafford get a ton more money from us.
See, when see, the problem is when you say that, I get a reaction of like feeling scared, nervous, frustrated, like you're basically flushing the money down the toilet.
But aren't we just flushing the money down the toilet if we have Sean Hill as our quarterback? Are we flushing the money down if we have Jake Rudock as our quarterback?
So now that goes into the argument of whether you believe that you can take a lesser quarterback, build a really super solid team around him, and maybe win with a guy like a Trent Dilfer, a guy that dinks and dunks it. Maybe you don't need the flame-throwing quarterback, but you kind of have built an offense around this guy and this system. How quickly could you turn it around and just go with a dink and dunk offense and not rely on a big money quarterback? You could go that route. Jason, you could say that, hey, we don't need a guy like Matthew Stafford. We can just maybe take a guy that we've drafted or a guy that we could maybe like a Jake Rudock on the cheap and mold him into a guy that could maybe go out there and be a superstar with high efficient passes and some leadership down the line. Because right now, everyone would argue that Matthew Stafford's the sexy pick, the guy with the big arm, with the grade A personality, with the cheerleader wife. But in the end, where are the results? I don't see them. So maybe we can take a step back. So now it needs another debate. Would you root against the Lions, maybe against Stafford, so that we can be gone from him and start anew? Do you want Matthew Stafford to be the guy in general? Do you want Stafford to be the head of the Detroit Lions and the face of the franchise for you?
For me, I would love to see Matthew Stafford win a Super Bowl for the Lions because I think that would it would be the story. It would be the storybook ending. We get to our lowest point as a franchise, and we take the first overall pick. He's our quarterback. We have our ups and downs, and then he finally wins the Super Bowl. I would love for that to happen. That being said, if he's not the answer, I want them to figure it out sooner than later because they need to start going down that road. If they are going to go down the road where they're retooling, moving towards a lesser than quarterback, and I don't think we have the talent though around it. I think usually when you see teams with a slightly average quarterback succeed, it's because they have great pieces. You look at what Minnesota did last year. Teddy Bridgewater is probably pretty close to what his ceiling is, but because they have Adrian Peterson and a really good defense, they were able to make the playoffs. I'm not sure if we have. I don't think we have that right now. I don't trust Amir Abdullah, and we haven't seen it from Theo Riddick yet. He's a pass catching threat, but we don't have that solid run game.
Yeah, with that money expectation on the line, I would have to say that I need to see what Stafford can do this year. I need to see what he can produce without Calvin Johnson, with this new line, with a running back core that's relatively decent. You have talent around him on offense. The workings are there. The system's there. He's familiar with it. The workings are there for him to have a successful year. Now you have to go out there and show it. So if he wants the big money, earn it this year, and it's going to take probably one playoff win or maybe two to break the bank to get in top three.
For sure. And I'll wrap it up for Lions talk. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, We'll talk about the Tigers and went to the game over the weekend, CMU Day.
Nice weekend.
Fire up chips. Yeah, nice weekend. Hold your horses, John. You get all excited for a couple wins. I hate you for that. But we'll be back on the Motor City Sports Rant on Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc here. I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors. We had a great event over the weekend. FanaticU.com, one of our early sponsors, Detroit Sports official outfitter and the official outfitter of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. If you're looking for any Detroit gear, if you want to support your Detroit Tigers, if you want to be like Jason and hop on the bandwagon the second half of the year, there's no better place to check out than FanaticU.com. Over the weekend, had a chance to go down to the Frazier location. They had a great signing with Michael Fulmer. The line was wrapped all the way around the building, and all in all, it was a great signing event. Got a chance to talk to a couple of supporters. They were like, yeah, we found you guys from Fanatic U because they tweet out our stuff. We have a lot of great events with them. We can't thank the crew over there at Fanatic U enough. Go check out FanaticU.com. Support the sponsors of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We greatly appreciate it. Now back to the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Everybody's got a price.
Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. What the hell is this, John?
Yes,
What is it?
it is the $1 Million Man's entrance theme from WWE.
Who's the $1 Million Man?
Oh my gosh. Back in the day in the 80s, there was this guy. His character was called the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And what his character was he was like, you know what? I don't like you. I don't have to respect you. If I want you in my presence, I'll just buy you. And his thing was when he'd beat the guy, the match would be over. He'd walk over, stomp him, and stick a $100 bill in their mouth. And so he had the egomaniac personality that he created his own belt, the $1 Million belt. And so I thought
It sounds a little bit like you, John.
That's what I said.
You kind of are that person. You do whatever you want, and you just, I don't know, you stomp on people and give them money.
See, I thought that was apropos for our previous talk, and that everybody's got a price and everybody's got to pay. Yes, sir.
So we got to talk about the Tigers.
Unlike you, though, you don't got to pay to go to Comerica. My goodness, how'd you figure that out?
I got some free tickets.
Who's that? Who's the person doling out the free tickets? Would they want to give some to the doc?
No, I'm not going to give you some free tickets. No, I got an opportunity, and me and the wife went down. It was a nice night. Got some dinner beforehand, and then went down to the game. It was the CMU night for Fire Up Chips. They seemed like every in-game host contest they did. So it was because of a CMU guy. But anyways.
Did they give away, by chance, the Old English D hat with the logo on the side?
Yep.
Oh, nice. I got one for Michigan State, so that's nice.
Yeah, and it was, I think they were down early, and, Stephen Moya dropped the ball, and we were out of our seats for a while. It was a very hot day at the ballpark, so we went and got some ice cream, and by the time we got back, it was like the 6th inning, and then we were in our seats though for the Tyler Collins. The home run,
the redemption home run.
It was great. There was like a smattering of boos whenever he came up.
Yeah,
and I was waiting for him to give the double gun salute. But as soon as he hit the home run, I gave him 2 the index finger ups for number 1.
There you go.
You're number 1.
So does that home run basically redeem him in your eyes? Is Tyler Collins forgiven for hitting 1 home run and having a decent weekend versus Kansas City?
I don't care about Tyler Collins.
He flicked off the fans in a motion that went viral. What are you talking about?
I don't care about Tyler Collins. He's nothing to this team. Yeah, he flicked off the fans. And, I think just on the home run, he won a game for you. So I think that redeems him. Whatever. Have you ever flicked off people or wanted to flick off people? Have you been on the road and wanted to be like, hey, F you? You just flick somebody off.
These days, you don't know what's out there on the road. So if people are flicking me, people are flicking me off left and right. I was talking about it on the Doc and Jock podcast that lately there's been a rash because I've been driving pretty much the speed limit because I've had a rash of tickets. So I've been the driver that's been overly cautious. So people are going around me, rushing, and I've been getting the finger left and right. But you know me, it takes a lot to get me riled up. You'd have to insult my family, call me out, call me a slacker. compare me to others in a not nice way, or maybe in a way that I perceive as disrespectful, or maybe go on a national podcast and don't drop my name. Stuff like that might get me riled up. But other than that, come on.
So you're gonna give the finger to Vinny
I might have to for other reasons.
next time he comes in. But
So Tyler Collins, basically, you were like, it didn't matter either way.
I don't care.
I forgave him. He's back in good graces with
Whatever.
us. I dropped, basically, though, I'm really surprised. People do like to gravitate toward negativity. I tweeted out when he came back, hey, the gesture, the nice GIF that came out there, and it got retweeted quite a bit. People do like to draw upon negativity a little bit, but hey, he's been productive a little bit more than Moya. But yeah, when Moya's out there in the outfield, he just is like, I was watching from afar. I was on the computer, so I was watching from a way back, so I didn't see that play. I was like, did Steven Moya mess up that play?
Dude,
oh
he
yeah,
straight up
brutal.
dropped the ball.
Brutal. Took the wrong path. Slow. They were like, "Are you watching?" It was like, "Oh my gosh!" People were so mad, and people weren't overly disappointed or devastated when he got sent down to AAA.
Yeah, I mean, as Justin Upton, he's not the greatest, but I'll take him over Steven Moyer right now. I'm sure you want to be all excited about the Tigers' record now. I mean, am I right? Are you excited about them right now?
As of this recording, the lasting memory that we have of the Detroit Tigers is a stellar pitching performance from Michael Fulmer, a guy that you could now tap to be the AL Rookie of the Year. You had Saul Tilamakia come up there, and let me set the scene how exciting it was. So I took the nephew to the signing. So we were just watching the game beforehand. We were all like, wow, Fulmer's going to pitch and then go do a signing. And the game was going on. It was 2-2, and he's watching, and he'll tell you this. He lived it, and it was very interesting in terms of how my life goes. I had all the kids there, 5 little kids under the age of 6. So I'm like, hey, hit a home run for my nephew. Let's go. He met him. I'm like, hey, that's the guy that met my nephew. Hit a home run for him. He laughs, and all of a sudden my little two kids were in the kitchen like hitting each other. So my wife's like, hey, go attend to that. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So I'm running after the 2 little ones who are hitting each other, and all of a sudden I hear, oh, he did it. And my brother-in-law and my nephew are screaming like, he did it, he hit it. And I come back, I replayed it. It was awesome. The excitement. They won the series. I didn't get to see it live, but I told them, hit one for my nephew, and Salty did it. So the combination of Fulmer and Salty, and if you look over here, the 2 signed baseballs over my shoulder, Fulmer and Salty.
Ooh.
And so maybe the DSP curse is being lifted. Hey now. But it was a nice memory. They won a series, and hey, all you got to do is look at whatever you believe is ahead for this team. Win series. Beat down teams that you're better than. We're playing the Twins coming up. I think we're sitting at 48 and 44.
Yep.
We're only a couple games back from the wild card.
Yep.
You could start to frame things a little bit more positively in that there is a little bit more hope than when the series started versus KC.
You know what the record is in the last 10 games?
5-5?
4-6.
Oh.
You know what the Twins' record in the last 10 games?
A lot of people saying they're winning, what, 7-3?
6-4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I fully expect to win the series against the Twins.
Now they're in upheaval. Their general manager just got blown out. So they're at the end. The good thing is, I don't want to jinx it, but we'll do it. As of this recording, the Tigers have played the Twins and have not lost a game to them yet this year.
We also haven't beat the Indians ever.
So look. I get the yin and the yang, but let's look at the positives. Look at the positives. JV is kind of inching towards more consistency. You got Michael Fulmer, but you do need to kind of
nothing else after that.
That's the problem.
You have
returning Zimmerman, hopefully, returning Norris, hopefully, returning JD Martinez, hopefully. Maybe someone will put out an APB for Miggy and find out where the hell he's been. But the Tigers had a good series. Listen, you don't give them any credit for winning 2 out of 3 versus a relatively okay Kansas City team. I know that they're fledgling a little bit, but they played us strong.
I give you a little bit of credit for beating Kansas City. You came back from the All-Star break, where Kansas City, I think, had a lot more players playing than you did. So it's really gonna, the rest of July is going to be the big question mark. If you could sweep the Twins and then
3 of 4 from the White Sox,
I'd even go as far as 2 of 4. You go split that, and then I think you have to win the Boston series and win the Houston series. If you can do that, then I think you're in a good shape. You're going into August. Anything less, then I stay where I've been this entire year, which more than likely that's where I'm going to be July 31st.
But now I have a question for you.
They're a 500 team.
I need a little bit of advice, some uncle advice. Okay, you're an uncle, correct?
I am an uncle.
Okay, so
a couple times over.
So I can't believe how early it starts, and I wonder if it's filtered from me or his father. But my nephew was like, we were driving over there. You know what he said to me? He said,
I hate the Tigers.
No,
I hate the Lions.
I hate to say it, but it was so funny that I had to. It was a teachable moment. No, he goes, Chalo means uncle in the Middle East. So he said, Chalo, if there's a signing with Michael Pelfrey, I don't want you to take me. So I said to him, no, don't talk like that. But he goes, Pelfrey sucks. He goes, he's not a good pitcher. He gives up a lot of hits. And I was like, Anthony, relax. He's like, but he's not that good. I'm so mad. I'm like, where did you watch this? He goes, yeah, every time he's up there, he's giving up a lot of hits. And that was, coming after the game versus Kansas City where, Brad Ausmus was like, okay, I'm seeing the trend of his last couple starts where he's gotten better. After the game, he came out and said, I was awful. But he was totally ridiculously bad on Saturday. And there's a ridiculous number out there. You can look it up. But the Tigers have a great record minus the starts of Pelfrey and Sanchez. When Pelfrey and Sanchez are out there, the Tigers don't have a chance to win. So I'm hoping. Do you think
you can't take those losses away, though?
I know you can't. No, I know that. But what I'm saying is to frame it like this. In the next 2 weeks, will a decision be made, and will the Tigers keep sticking with Pelfrey and Sanchez? Is this a situation where maybe the management above Brad Ausmus is saying, hey, keep these guys because of their deals?
It may sound crazy, and tell me if I'm wrong. I actually feel more comfortable with Mike Pelfrey than Anibal Sanchez.
Hell out here. No, they're both terrible. They're terrible.
They're both terrible. But if you had to tell me one of those guys has to go start a game for you.
Comfortable and Pelfrey and Sanchez are not going to be in the same sentence, I think, forever. That's it. You're not comfortable. They're going to lose.
This isn't the game I'm playing, Doc. I'm saying Pelfrey, Sanchez. Who are you picking?
Yeah, you got to pick Pelfrey, of course.
So I think Pelfrey will more than likely finish out the season in the rotation.
Oh,
Anibal Sanchez has no place in this rotation. There's no way he should start another game for the Tigers.
He's going to start.
I know he's
Tuesday.
starting the next couple games,
yeah,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
the dude is horrible. And
so then, but now answer the question: do you think that Brad Ausmus is being allowed to make this decision because it looks really bad? Why? I don't understand. You got Sanchez and Pelfrey.
Vinny drop.
Yeah. Why are these guys still in the rotation? Why? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't profess to know the inner workings day to day of a baseball organization, but I do know that this sample size is pretty large. Sanchez goes out there. He's given up 5 runs every 5 innings, and he doesn't give you a chance to win. He can't go more than 90 pitches. Pelfrey is way all over the place, and he's just a pitcher that is inconsistent, and he's hittable. And so why are they being trotted out there game in, game out? Is it that really an indictment on the organization that there's nobody better from the minors? I mean, wouldn't you just be happier if someone else took the beating other than Pelfrey? Is that dumb to say? Like, I would rather have a rookie from the minors come up here and get shelled for 7 runs. We've already seen that, rather than a guy that is going to suck.
I guess the question then would be, would you be hurting those rookies or whoever you bring up? Are you hurting them more?
It's a big boy business.
I get it.
Fulmer, look at Fulmer. Fulmer's got talent. He earned his way up. He started the year in the minors. 3 weeks into the season, he comes up. Look, if obviously we're not going to go tap 18-year-olds and come bring them up here. Go find guys in their mid-20s, somebody that you reliably trust.
Bring back Randy Wolf.
Hey, maybe you just say, okay, let's finally make the definitive choice on Shane Green. Is he a starter or not? Maybe you have to, figure out what to do with Norris. Or maybe you just got to say that anybody but Pelfrey or Sanchez, anybody can come into this rotation besides those 2 guys.
I'd say anybody but Sanchez, because I think Pelfrey, he has the ability to give you some outings here.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Why do you keep saying that? What makes you believe that Pelfrey is going to come out and perform other than maybe one performance that's decent, one terrible, one okay? Maybe I don't see quality starts in the future for Pelfrey at all.
I can say that because I think we have a decent bullpen. And I think if all you're calling on Pelfrey to do is come out and give you 5, maybe go into the 6th inning, then I think you're in a better position than you are with, bringing up somebody who's going to just get shelled. Sanchez, no doubt. The dude has no place in the rotation. Make no doubt about it. But Pelfrey has the possibility to do that. I mean, that's just how I feel. Obviously, I don't think it shows in his win-loss. In his last 3 starts. Yeah, the last game he lost. the one game, the 3 games ago, they won that game. He didn't get that win. He won the game before that. So I mean, they've won games where he started, but he just hasn't gotten. He hasn't gotten. There's a reason that he's 2-9. It's because he only goes 5 or 6 innings. Looking at he started out the season with 5 straight losses, but he really started out the season with 4 straight losses. Then he won his 4th game because it was a no decision. I think people are going a little too crazy on Mike Pelfrey.
Really?
I'm not, and I'm not saying that he's a great pitcher. I'm not saying he's a top of the rotation guy. I think he's good enough to be your 5th starter.
Okay.
I mean, you really don't think he's good enough to at least be a 5th starter?
Okay, here's the situation. You've sent down Matt Boyd because of his ineffectiveness. Pelfrey, Sanchez are still there. Matt Boyd's been up and down. He's a guy that you believe to be a guy that's going to be a potential starter, a guy that was in the deal that sent off David Price, was one of the guys that came back. You got Norris. You got Farmer, who's going to be the obvious, piece, the superstar in that trade. Okay, why not just let Boyd go out there and get,
They are
crushed.
putting Boyd out there.
They're putting him out there. So why is it that guys like Pelfrey and Sanchez, and I think you're not answering my question, I think that Al Avila is coming down and saying, listen, try your absolute best to find anything out of these guys because we're paying them. Look at the numbers. $16 million for 2 years for Pelfrey, $16 million a season for Sanchez. This is because if Brad Ausmus is trotting those guys out there, I have to look at Ausmus as being a guy that's not worthy of being a manager. I believe that they're sitting in a meeting and they're trying to say that, unfortunately, even though Adam keeps saying you can't make moves based on contracts, those moves are not performance-based. They're contract-based, and they're trying to give them chance after chance after chance to find something. So move Pelfrey and Sanchez out of the rotation immediately. Just do it. And if it has to be a patchwork of Boyd and Green, and they get roughed up, so be it. If Green has to go out there for 6 innings and give up 6 runs, so be it. If Matt Boyd's going to give up, 6 runs in 6 innings, so be it. Then you trot out the next 2 from the minors. Okay? But at this point, I think what all the fans are pissed off about, and what I'm pissed off about is Pelfrey and Sanchez, the experiment should be over. I think it should have been over prior to their last couple starts. That's all I'm saying. And then it leads you to question why. You make a mistake, own it. We know you have a big payroll. When you start to realize that appearance after appearance after appearance after appearance, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that Pelfrey and Sanchez are going to result in more losses than wins. Get them out of there. And because every win is so precious, we can't just give away games. You could have swept KC. You could have swept them. So that's what I think is pissing off fans is that we really need to kind of start looking at, hey, earn your keep. I don't care if you're making $50 million a year. If you're going out there and batting less than 200, you can't be on the field. And that's just what's pissing everybody off. But hopefully, playing bad teams, hell, maybe Pelfrey and Sanchez will do some things. But hopefully it doesn't cloud their judgment and let people think that these guys are reliable. It's time, basically, to cut the cord and end the Pelfrey-Sanchez starting pitching experiment.
Oh, I mean, who are you going to bring up? You bringing up Matt Boyd?
Yeah, let him roll out there, whatever. You got to figure out what the heck's going on with Daniel Norris. Hopefully he's a rehab start away. Zimmerman's coming back, so one of them is going to have to be pushed out. So
what about this Thad Weber guy or Matt Krause? These
Anybody.
guys are pretty solid.
Sure, bring him up.
You heard it here. Tigers are a 500 team. And Mike Pelfrey is going to finish out the season.
So I can't still boost your excitement a little. Maybe if they go, maybe if they win
like I said,
6 games this week.
Let me look back to the schedule.
Let them win 6-7 games. I think next week you might start moving towards, and you might start moving towards being satisfied, and there's still moves going to be made. I do believe they're going to add to this team. They have to. They're going to add to this team, and it's going to result in greatness. Trust me, Jason.
What are they giving up, though?
They're going to give up, you know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be gracious. I'm going to give up Steven Moya and Buck Farmer to the Yankees, and they're going to give me Andrew Miller.
Okay, so you get more bullpen help.
Hey, that's a start.
What's that gonna?
Okay, that's one trade. Now, we're going to play fantasy trade. Okay, I'm going to trade Jimenez for Sonny Gray straight up.
Would they do that?
Hey, if we're going to play fantasy land, I hope they do it. Well, you figure you need a starter and a reliever. Is Sonny Gray a guy you want?
I would take him.
Okay, so maybe let's go target him. Maybe they need more.
Is he a lefty?
Sonny Gray, I don't believe so, but you can check it out.
Well, if you were somehow able to make that happen, I would be a little bit more inclined to like this team.
Now, if I want to play Fantasyland here, I want Andrew Miller, I want Aroldis Chapman, and I want Sonny Gray. And I want Archer and Smiley. Let's add 5 guys to the team.
Now you're going crazy.
Yeah, exactly. See, don't you think we need, relatively speaking, based on where we are now, 500 team, to get them to be a World Series team, they need about 4 to 5 productive players.
They do. And I think
let's make it happen. Let's dream.
At least half of those need to be pitchers, if not more.
Exactly. They need to be pitchers. You said it. They need to get help on the starting end, and they need maybe one more legitimate bat. And they keep saying it. You have it, but Justin Upton just isn't cutting it. He just isn't doing it. And if Miguel plays this way the rest of the year, most people are saying you don't believe he will, but he's not seeing the ball well. And in crunch time, with the bases loaded, he has been abysmal. And so it's been a very disappointing run as of late for him. I think he gets more patience than most. But before we get out of here, I do want to get your assessment on this funny take from a media member. Fair or not, Wojo called Victor Martinez Kmart. Based upon his play the last couple games. I laughed. He got a little bit of a critique. But do you believe that V-Mart will get back this week from being Kmart to being V-Mart, the man?
I mean, I gotta hope. I mean, if he isn't performing, then your team's not.
That was
your
slick,
team has
though.
no hope.
That's a slick. That was slick.
Did he do it to his face, or was it just on air?
No, on Twitter. I think it was on Twitter. It was funny. It was very funny.
You can say whatever you want on Twitter, man.
Yeah, Kmart. That was good. Kmart and no hitting Miggy.
I mean, I'm not gonna call out Victor Martinez because he can hit a ball. We went to the batting cages over the weekend, and I was struggling with the 45-mile-an-hour fastball.
Oh, it's because you got hand-eye coordination. See, I could teach you with that. You see, I play tennis, so I had to serve, so you have to be... I have good hand-eye coordination. So I can hit a ball right now relatively decently at 70.
What?
That's with no practice. 70, yeah. I got good hand-eye...
In a batting cage?
Yeah, it's got good timing.
I don't believe you.
Okay, give me
We're
a
going to
week.
have to get video proof of this. We
Okay.
need to go to a batting cage.
Yeah.
I want to see you do this.
Okay.
Because, I mean, now... Let me say, I can hit it at the 45 mile an hour. I'm not getting full swings though. Like I can hit it, but like
You're questioning my athletic prowess?
I
Okay,
am questioning because
Okay.
there's
I will make it happen. I'll have to show you.
I don't think you can actually like swing a good and hit a 70 mile an hour ball.
70. Really?
70.
Okay. That the gauntlet's been raised, and we'll have video proof that I can do it.
I know. I will buy you lunch if you can. It has to be a good swing, and
One swing, they give you I haven't been in the cages a while. They give
like
you at least
15 to 20.
Yeah.
I think. It has to be a good one. I'm essentially what I was doing. I was essentially getting it there, and I wasn't really following through. I want to see a good swing. I want to see a good follow through.
Okay.
I want to see a Miguel Cabrera.
This will be something that'll be good for our Twitter page. All right, sounds good. The gauntlet has been challenged, and the challenge has been made. I accept it, and we'll do it, no doubt. Lunch at my choosing. Okay, sounds good. We'll have maybe a burger or something very enjoyable around town here and give back to the community as well.
Maybe we'll go to CJ Barrymore.
Maybe we'll go to CJ Barrymore's. All right, sounds good. All right, so that was good. That was, I like lighting up the mics, coming here at the Sterling Heights Studios, talking about Detroit sports. I'm getting you closer to being more confident, but all in all, great 69th version of this
69.
podcast. We can get home on time to watch Raw. Very good. And
We're about 2 weeks away
Real
from
quick.
the beginning of Lions training camp.
real quick, is it going to be safe in Cleveland for the convention, or is it going to be problems? Any issues we would talk about next week at the convention?
I'm gonna say no. I really I don't.
The protests are going. Yeah, I hope nothing happens, but it's got that vibe.
Anything can happen, really.
It's got that
But
vibe.
I don't want to even bet that anything's gonna happen.
I hope not either. I just think that let's just go out there and peacefully, if you have to protest, let it go down, and we'll see what happens these next couple weeks with these conventions, and let's just get back to being civil with each other, and that's for sure, and talk about fun stuff. Sports,
Yeah,
movies.
Maybe we'll see. I want to go see Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne. Have you seen Ghostbusters?
No,
Okay.
I probably won't.
No, not a movie on your radar?
I'll see it when it comes out on like HBO. It's not a movie that I have to go see it in the theaters.
Okay, we'll see about maybe a review next week of something that you enjoyed.
That'll do it for this 69th episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. He's John Macaroon. I'm Jason Jarvi. We'll see you next week.
And you can't teach that.
Okay, nice idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.
Breaking news as we're recording this.
Arian Foster signs with the Miami Dolphins. So disregard everything we said about Arian Foster. Long live Zach Zenner, and we'll see you next week.
And Doc is always right. I said it before.
Shut
it happened.
up, Doc. You're not always right. You can't hit a ball at 70 miles an hour.
Peace.